So, one of the things that Shay Bynes of Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur says, or at least she used to be part of the organization. I think she's definitely still affiliated. I'm not quite sure if she has an official role in the company anymore. But um, one of the things that she said or would say is that God is the source and people are a resource, something like that. And the basic idea, is simply that it's easy in business sometimes to look at people as being the source of your revenue. And you think, wow, if I could get in with the right person, the right group, the right whatever, kind of like I was talking yesterday about the who and then, that would solve all my problems. And it it may be not. I mean, there's an element of truth there, right? That who you know is very, very important in terms of how easy it is to to progress. But the and I think you could, from a humanistic standpoint, if you're running your life and your business without paying attention to God, and you're just trying to get it all done on your own, then yeah, I think you could go out, you could try to find the right people, potentially connect with them, and potentially be successful. But it's not the way that I envision or the way that I would idealize to walk, to live my life, right? Because um, it's not a that's not a dependent on God version. And I think that the if you choose, I think that it's wise to choose to depend on God first of all, because God is very trustworthy, and because it helps to keep things in the right perspective. It helps reduce the temptation to pride. It helps to it helps us to well, in other words, if you want to actually serve God, and then the perspective that God is the provider, that He's the source, is very helpful in maintaining that posture, I believe. Um, and there's also it's also true. So in the sense that you know God is the source, and if you get I think there's a lot of freedom in recognizing that that's the case, so that you don't have to be all up in knots about finding the right people, keeping them happy, um, the people pleasing element of it, or if depending on your personality, if you tend to manipulate people, you don't need to do that either, because you don't depend ultimately on people. What you depend on is God. And I remember several years ago, I had a large client that I was doing a lot of work for. I had multiple contractors helping me out, and they were very much my big kahuna. But I was a little bit concerned because they were my big kahuna, like probably 80% of my revenue or something, and like it was substantial. And it's like, if these guys decide not to use me anymore, and they they might, because I mean leadership changes and all that stuff, and then all right, back at you there. But yeah, people are not the like God has the ability to bring in the people that you need for your business to thrive. It's that simple. And he may just like drop them into your business out of thin air, or he may partner with you to to create a marketing plan or to create some system to help bring those people in. What I was saying with this big kahuna client, well, sure enough, um, their leadership did change, and or there were different changes in their roles or whatever. They want to take more of their stuff in house, and basically, over a fairly short period of time, probably several months, we probably went from, you know, we went from from a good chunk of the income that I need on a monthly basis to maybe like if you think about like maybe 80% of the income that I needed to like maybe 15%, let's say, um, is my guess. Now, I had been working with another. I had multiple other clients at the time as well, but they were all just tend to be a lot smaller. And so for one of the smaller ones, I proposed, hey, why don't you pay me, several $1,000s over this next month, and let's try to get this thing really really cooking for your campaigns. And they agreed to, and it was beautiful because it was right, pretty much it just kicked in right when I needed that money, because the other engagement had kind of fizzled. And so it was really, just neat how God worked that out, to where, if just looking at it from a man's perspective, it's like, oh, I've got this, kind of big risk because I've got this one client that's paying me so much money. What happens if they go away? And then they go away, you'd be like, oh dear, what am I going to do? But it worked out. It was great. God was, we, that partnership with that company, if you will, I use partnership in the loose sense, not the legal sense. We, over that next year or so, I put a lot of work into their company and grew it substantially. And so, and then they invested heavily, so it wasn't just my work, it was their investment too. But it was the combination of the two, that we were able to grow their company substantially and really kind of take it into a different space, a different place. And so, anyway, it's just neat how God works. That, and so it's easy, I think, when if you're prone to being a little someone who kind of worries a little bit about money, is like, is there going to be enough? Are you going to can you make ends meet, et cetera, et cetera. What if I lose this client or that client? I've always, to this point, I've always operated with a fairly small number of clients, not usually over a dozen or so, which makes so that I can generally give pretty individualized service to them, and pretty I like to think a pretty high quality of service. But at the same time, it also makes it a little bit more like it could be some variation. It's like, well, if some of my best clients drop off, what will I do then? But I have learned, and I'm learning, and hopefully I will continue to even get better at this, that I don't need to be aggressive about hanging on to clients. If it's not working for them, God may have something better for me as well. And then so really I can be at peace about my clients. And I think over the last year or so, I guess, I've been pretty aware that, well, I don't really have a great marketing funnel for my own clients in terms of to bring in new clients for myself. But not, I mean, I do some activities. I do a little bit of advertising. I do a little bit of social media. But as far as something I can point to and say, yes, I know this will consistently produce results and I can consistently grow my business, I've not really had that. And there are several reasons for that, right? So one is just that business to business is a challenging one. It's not as straightforward maybe as direct to consumer marketing. But it's also, at least part of the time, I guess I've not really felt that I was to aggressively pursue lead generation for my company, but that it was more about being consistent in a few simple marketing activities, maybe, and then, but mostly, potentially that, but then mostly trusting God. Mostly letting God bring the people, And it's been interesting, too. I've also like, it's often felt like God knows best when it comes to even creating like my schedule, if you will, because I do also do some video production, some kind of like one-off work, to where it's like it's not a monthly retainer type situation. It's an individual project, and rather than get uptight about hey, I've got this opening here in my schedule, I have to get something to fill it. Rather, just kind of allowing God to bring the right project for the right time, and I kind of developed this mantra, if you will, that God knows better than I how to set my schedule. Basically, how to fill up my time, how to fill up my schedule. Um, I don't know if yeah. So that's still maybe kind of a work in progress there, and maybe some things have changed. Um, but I would say that my current thinking around lead generation for my business is that I rather than well, simple is good. First of all, simplicity is part of the Story Pro mantra here. But rather than simply subscribing to a set agenda of I need to be bringing in leads for my business because that's what you should do. That's what they tell you to do. Rather than that, focus on like if there's a specific opportunity, which in this case I do have a specific opportunity that I'm working on. I think my focus is mostly on that opportunity. Like my spare time, I mostly want to devote towards that, develop that. I think there's a lot of long-term potential there, and I think it could be a great source of future leads through kind of a referral system. And I don't believe that I don't know if I'm going to need a cold funnel per se online so much, or if I do, that maybe it'll be in conjunction with this referral system. I don't know. I may still need that, but for right now, I'm kind of feeling the freedom to not be like, people like say your business should be growing aggressively, right? Or they say, you kind of get these shoulds type of feelings. And the reality is that there's not any should about how fast your business should grow. The should is you should listen to God and partner with Him and do what works well. And in that context, then do what works well for you. And if rather than just adopting some kind of external should on your business, figure out how you want to operate. If you want to operate a slower growing business, but one that's very sustainable, you do you. If you want to grow aggressively and, every month you're having a conversation with your banker trying to figure out how to make it through another month, great. I mean, you do what it feels right between you and God, first of all. And then, but then after that, it's how do you want to run it? Like, it's almost like sometimes it's easy to kind of get into this, like let's say I have a goal, right? Okay, I want to grow my company to a larger size. I want more personal income for myself. I want to be able to bless more people. I want to have more impact. And then it's easy so then you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? Okay, well, it's got to be through lead generation and bringing more new customers on. And then it's like pretty easy to be in like, to get into all the shoulds. You should do it this way, you should do it that way. And when in reality, I mean, that's one of the great things about being in business for myself is I don't have to subscribe to anybody else's shits. So if I want to run my business in a different way, if I want to grow it through some type of partnership, referral partnership, or through a few key people, if I want to have more clients or fewer clients, and people say, all that is fine. So long as God's good with it, I don't need to have anybody else's approval on that. So, anyway, just an encouragement to don't just go by what the online, what the interwebs say you should do, but explore what actually feels right for you.